Support for Pop of Culture comes from Stallings Wealth Management. Daniel Stallings, financial advisor. Securities and advisory services offered through Cetera Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC, a broker/dealer, and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity.
This week on Pop of Culture, we're on the music beat in ECI.
I think there's definitely an audience for them here in Muncie, but there just hasn't really been a proper venue for it before.
We'll also preview an event for writers of all ages and take the stage with Mel Brooks' classic, Young Frankenstein.
It's all we can do not to be laughing with the audience.
That and somehow more, although I don't know how it's possible, coming up.
Support for Pop of Culture comes from Stallings Wealth Management, the Innovation Connector, and from you. With state and federal money eliminated, you are the difference in keeping local programming on the air at IPR. Become a member today at indianapublicradio.org.
From IPR, this is Pop of Culture. I'm Jen Blackmer.
And I'm Michelle Kinsey.
We're going to start today with another event for authors, writers, and even the literary curious.
Christina Diaz Gonzalez is the author of several novels for young people, including the award-winning mystery Concealed, the best-selling graphic novel Invisible, and the critically acclaimed historical fiction novel The Red Umbrella. And she's coming to Muncie in November as part of the 2025 Writer in Residence program at Ball State University. But first, she's here with us on Pop of Culture. Christina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a thrill to be able to talk to you and the people there in Indiana a little bit before I get there in person.
Absolutely. And I should mention that also joining us is Jill Christman, and she is a creative writing professor at Ball State, and she kind of coordinates this whole shindig. So, Jill, tell us how this came about, the Author in Residence program.
It started first with Ashley C. Ford, who is in fact going to be visiting us on November 6th for a reading and conversation with Christina. And we had done a Writer in Residence program that was supported by the Office of the President back 5 years ago now. And one day we had a part of the program wherein we invited kids from schools to join Ashley on the stage in the ballroom at the Student Center and have an opportunity to ask their own questions about Ashley's books. And I saw in those kids' faces the way they just transformed, getting to be around a real author and have essentially that book come to life and think to themselves, you could see them thinking, if Ashley can do this, and she was a student at Ball State University, and maybe I'll be a student at Ball State University, then maybe I can do this too, right?
Absolutely.
And in that moment, it was like a literary firecracker went off in my head, and I was like, what if we reshaped this program so it was all about kids? And now it is all about kids.
That's awesome. Christina, your books are used in more than 32 states as part of statewide reading programs. But I understand when you were younger, growing up, reading Nancy Drew in your treehouse, you thought, I can't be an author. I'll never be an author. Why?
Well, it's a lot of what Jill was just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you don't see it, you don't know you can be it.
Yeah.
And for me, growing up, I grew up in a very small southern town in North Florida before the age of internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never met a writer before. And as much as I enjoyed books and loved reading and had stories in my head, it just didn't seem like something I or my friends would ever do. I had this image of writers always living in New York or being a very old man in a lighthouse. I'm not even sure where that image came from, but that's what I thought writers were like.
Yeah.
And they weren't just regular people like me or my friends. And it wasn't really until I was an adult, well into another career, that the writing bug kind of bit me again.
Yeah. And you mentioned other career, and on the complete other end of the spectrum, you became an attorney.
I did.
For a while.
And attorney was my trying to bridge the gap between my love of reading and writing and still not fully embracing creative writing.
Yes.
But it really wasn't until I became a mom and my children started reading and I saw how much they enjoyed, going to a bookstore, going to a library, opening up a new story, that it reminded me of that passion I had when I was a child. And now I could see that, well, why not? Why, if I have these stories, why shouldn't I be the one telling them? And that pretty much launched me onto the path of trying to pursue a writing career.
Absolutely. And let's jump into that. Let's talk about Jill's new favorite book, The Red Umbrella, that she read. Tell us a little bit about the story. And then, Jill, tell us why this book stood out to you so much. So give us a little background on what the book is about, Christina.
So The Red Umbrella was actually my very first novel. And it's the story of a young girl. It's loosely based on my parents' story, not a memoir, but it's loosely based on their story and the story of over 14,000 other children who were sent to the U.S. after the communist revolution in Cuba by themselves. Because back then and still today, to leave the country of Cuba, you have to ask for the government's permission. And especially back then, there were repercussions if you asked to leave. You were deemed a traitor, and there were all these consequences, but there was a loophole for a short amount of time where children could leave. And that's what happened. It was a secret operation between the US government and the Cuban underground. And about half of the children would arrive in the US with no one, and they would be taken to these camps. And from those camps, they were sent to either orphanages or foster families throughout the US. So that happened to both my parents as well as my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law ended up with a foster family in Des Moines, Iowa, that didn't speak Spanish. She didn't speak English. And this was the story I had always heard. And so now I wanted to use a fictionalized version of this story to share what had happened during those times. And that's how The Red Umbrella came to be.
Wow. And what, Jill, talk about your reaction when you picked up that book and started reading it.
Wow. I mean, I think as I was listening to you talk about it, Christina, which is such a wonderful opportunity, right? Which is what kids in Muncie are going to get to do.
Yeah.
I was thinking how struck I was as I was reading by how, I know we say this in writing, but it's true here, that these are such extraordinary circumstances, right? These kids are being sent away to the U.S. by themselves. There's this just amazing scene in the airport where they can see their parents, but they can't get to their parents. And my heart as a mom was breaking, like everything about it. My heart was totally in it. And so it was completely, these moments are made so ordinary within this extraordinary circumstance. And I learned so much about a time I didn't know that much about. I was completely invested in the characters. And also I had a new kind of, and if there's one reason for literature on this planet, I think it is that it gives us capacity for deeper empathy. And I felt like through these really ordinary, I'm thinking of another scene that really struck me when she's going to her first dance, right? Yes, it's like all of our first dances, right? But it isn't at all, right? Because it's happening during a revolution, right? So that was the part of it, Christina, that so struck me about your book, was the way we get to see these kids as real people in these extraordinary situations.
Yeah.
And even though it's historical fiction, that is one of the things that I am also very proud of the book, that it does bridge that gap, not only between generations, because I have grandparents who have written to me that have told me that how they were crying reading the book. And then I have kids who are reading it. And it also bridges the generations and time, because there are universal aspects to it. And I think people see that today. They can see large events happening around them, and yet they're also figuring out, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? So it's the juxtaposition of both both things happen simultaneously.
Yeah, and you've mentioned kind of feedback you've received from different age groups from your writing. When you come to Muncie and you're going to be doing some readings with some Muncie Community Schools kiddos and some kids at community centers, what is the one thing that you hope a young person will say to you after your visit?
My dream is always that after my visit, the people in the audience, whether they're kids or adults, will look at me and say, if she can be a writer, I can be a writer, and demystify the idea that only some people can be writers. I want them to have that sense of, okay, yes, I have a story to share. Whether that story is published or not, maybe it's just something they write down for future generations within their own family.
Yeah. Jill, that's got to be great for you to hear, because you're bringing Christina, like you have so many others, to town to put them in front of young people to show them that, yes, you can do this.
Yeah, we share a dream, Christina.
Yeah.
I so believe that our stories are our power, and to give access to kids and adults, as you say, to know that. And if they leave that room just wanting to get to wherever they are with a pen and a piece of paper and write something down and tell their own stories, then this program has been a success. That is also my dream.
Yeah.
And actually, my other dream now, since you've mentioned The Old Man in the Lighthouse, is at this point in my own writing career is to become that old man in the lighthouse. So I'm a little distracted by that image.
I love that.
Let's go back to that.
Mental note to check in with Jill in a few
On her
years
sabbatical
she's
next
in a
year.
lighthouse.
Wait, she's an old man in a lighthouse.
But before you do that, Jill, tell
Yeah.
us what other things are going to be going on during the Writer in Residence
Okay.
week.
So the week that you want to be paying attention to is the week of November 3rd. And conveniently, for all you listeners out there, if you go to bsu.edu/writer-in-residence, all one word, you will find all the information plus tons of bonus material. In terms of the big public events, on Monday, November 3rd, Christina will be giving a lecture on writing for young people in the ballroom. And then on the 5th, that Wednesday, there will be a pizza party meet and greet at the Ross Community Center. We're so grateful to them for hosting us. And there will be events we set up like a literary fair for kids. I believe this year there may be going to be some salsa dancing lessons.
Wow.
I know. So that's something I've got up my sleeve right now.
Nice.
And there will be some writing projects and some art projects. And Christina will talk about her books and also sign. One thing that's been great about this program that kids love is many of them have never had a book signed by an author before. And we will hand them the book and then they can read it and then they can get it signed. Another thing, since I haven't said this yet, just so you know, Christina and all of you, I've had kids come up to me. Well, actually, usually it's to the author and tell them, this is the first book I've read all the way through, right? And if that isn't enough for us all to get behind this program, I don't know what is, right? Just clutching it to their chest, waiting to get to the author so that they can get it signed. This is the first book I've read all the way through. And then on Thursday, November 6th in the afternoon, again, back in the ballroom, Christina will be reading some from one of her stories, and then she will be joined in conversation with Ashley C. Ford, who was previously mentioned, a graduate from our program and the author of the best-selling memoir, Somebody's Daughter. She will be back with us and having a conversation that will be targeted for both kids and adults. And so I hope that folks will come out for these events, stay in touch with any updates on the website, and be part of this. It'll be a great time to be a reader in Muncie the week of November 3rd.
Absolutely. Christina, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Jill, for making all of this happen. It's going to be a great week for all ages.
Thanks so much for having us. It is an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you.
There are many ways to perform music: by plucking a string, pressing a key, drumming a stick. At the Muncie Liberation Studio, music is being made with cables and oscillators, changing sounds with the turn of a dial. IPR's Ransom reports on how electronic music nights have begun to build a small community.
As dusk takes hold, the Muncie Liberation Studio is one of the few places turning the lights down as the space prepares for experimental electronic music night. The tight-knit nature of the event ensures no one slips in unnoticed.
What's up, y'all? Thank y'all for coming tonight.
The music can be heard spilling out of the doors, with standing room only in the small village venue. The night has 3 musicians scheduled, and no one knows what to expect.
It's different every time, and so I think that's what makes it special.
I think there's a lot of diversity in sound. So you can have everything from, the most beautiful ambiance, I think, to sometimes I think they'll turn into, almost horror music, I think, like something building up tension.
It's very experimental, but it's like so fascinating.
Honestly, you can come in on one of these nights and look at their gear and it looks like you're looking at the swatches on a spaceship or something.
Some performances, like the musician Pop Rocks, are planned out in choreographed sets. Meanwhile, acts like Crawling Giants let the music guide itself.
And I guess I just have always been an improviser. So it's just like how I am. Like I was born that way. I did study classical and traditional forms of music also, but I've always been interested in just playing whatever comes to mind.
The mind behind Crawling Giants, Adam Crawley, is a musician for the Ball State Department of Theater and Dance. The event has become Crawley's passion project with the goal of filling the gaps left in Muncie's music scene, with others sharing and supporting his motive.
I think there's definitely an audience for them here in Muncie, but there just hasn't really been a proper venue for it before.
Without spaces like experimental electronic music night, some musicians, like Pop Rocks, may never have a chance to perform.
My kind of music can't really get played at bars, and I don't really want it to be played at bars. I want to play it in a space that feels like kind of made for weirder experimental music.
The hope is that the Muncie Liberation Studio can become another reliable option for live music in Muncie, providing a welcoming space to music for a particular taste. In Muncie, Ransom True, IPR News.
You're listening to Pop of Culture. I'm Michelle Kinsey.
And I'm Jen Blackmer. And for spooky season, we are thrilled to welcome for a conversation today Lyn Barber. And Julie is an actress in Indianapolis who is performing the role, I should say the iconic role, of Frau Blücher.
Steady!
In Young Frankenstein, which is being produced at Actors Theater of Indiana. Julie Lyn, welcome to Pop of Culture.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you here. And if you could start off and tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, where you're from, and how you got involved in Actors Theater as well as this production.
Well, I am from Canada, but I've been in the States for a long time since coming to do my master's. And I live in Parker City year-round on a family farm, my husband's family farm. But I also teach full-time at Purdue University Fort Wayne. So I just did Titanic with ATI in the summer at the Palladium, which was glorious and so much fun. It was a one-weekend large event.
Yes.
And then this is my second show with ATI.
Well, excellent. What do you teach at Purdue?
I am the head of musical theater, and I teach acting and musical theater courses.
Oh, excellent. So that, of course, is exactly what you are doing here with this production. And yeah, I have to say, Young Frankenstein is Frankenstein, I should say, one of my favorite films. For those of us who may not be as familiar as I am, with the story. Tell us a little bit about who you play.
I play Frau Blücher, the housekeeper of the Frankenstein castle. When young Frankenstein shows up thinking he's going to just kind of look at the place, sell it, and go home, I welcome him rather spookily. I'm kind of a frightening, matronly housekeeper who has a lot of opinions about what's going on. Secrets are revealed that my relationship with his grandfather, Frankenstein, was a close relationship. And then we kind of team up and, of course, head into creating monsters, which is what the Frankensteins have always done.
That's
Although
right.
young Frankenstein is rejecting his family name, thus the Frankenstein.
Hence the Frankenstein. And we shall say that shenanigans ensue.
Oh, yes.
And super fun for this time of year, yeah?
Yes, and so close. The musical is so closely linked to the movie. If people do know the movie, they will recognize it. And if people don't, they will just see madcap, ridiculous fun.
Oh, that's excellent. And you've only been in rehearsal for a few weeks, correct? And I know that Actors Theater of Indiana, it's a professional theater company. And so you come in and you do your work pretty quickly and turn it around pretty quickly, yes?
Yes, we do 2 full weeks of rehearsal before Tech, and now we are in the Tech Week, which begins today, and we open on Friday.
That's incredible. Now, why should people, beyond madcap shenanigans, why should people come see young Frankenstein?
There are so many reasons. The cast is wildly incredible. Stellar comedian singers, also some old friends who've jobbed into ATI before are back. So the chemistry on stage is fabulous. So what you need for that comedic timing. It's an epic production. So Frankenstein's castle is on stage. And then, of course, all of the wonderful effects of bringing a monster to life. And much of the dialogue is underscored. So it's got that movie music feeling with a great band, a nice little band up in the loft.
Oh, that's excellent. And you mentioned the comic timing, which is so crucial to a good theater production. And how do you foster something like that in such a short period of time?
Well, it helps. So one of the person who plays Frederick Frankenstein is Ben Asakwi, and he and I did a show for 10 years together called Cabaret Poe that played in Indianapolis every October. So it's like no time has passed. The two of us back on stage shooting looks at each other. Really a lot of generosity from everyone on stage. So it seems like everyone was best friends by day 2. And day 1, we were just singing straight ahead. So fun off stage, fun while rehearsing, going ahead and laughing at each other in those first few days of rehearsal so that we could get it out of our system. So we really are having a lot of fun at the same time.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I love to hear that. We've talked a lot here on Pop of Culture about arts in the community, and this is a perfect example of that. What has been your favorite moment of rehearsal?
There is an onstage moment where Inga and I are trying to just stay out of, not pull focus, while Igor and Frederick have a conversation about how we have just failed at charades. And the brilliance of Ben Asakwi and John Vessels in the timing of that scene, it's all we can do not to be laughing with the audience. And I think it's just a perfect example of stillness and like the highs, the explosion of comedy versus the absolute stillness that is just like watching masters do what they do.
Oh, I love that. And that may be something that an audience member just walking in may not notice or know to look for, but obviously it's important to you and it kind of helps to just elevate the whole experience.
Yes, the audience will just get to be laughing. It's one of those multi-level laughs that those of us on stage are trying not to. But yes, the audience will have the benefit of being allowed to laugh out loud at it.
Excellent. That's great. So can you tell me a little bit about Actors Theater of Indiana as an organization, as an institution?
It was founded by 3 actors, one of whom is from Carmel, the current artistic director, Judy Fitzgerald. And it has been operating as Carmel's, I think, only equity theater, producing a full equity season of musicals. I think they only do musicals. And every now and then they do a large production over at the Palladium. I saw Sweeney Todd there, and then Titanic was kind of this large collaboration with chorus and symphony. They hold open auditions in the spring that are open to everyone in the community. It is an equity company, so they hire equity and non-equity actors.
And for our listeners who may not be familiar with what equity is, can you tell us?
Yes, equity is the union for actors and stage managers. So while you're working, you are paying taxes and into your retirement and qualifying for healthcare.
What does this mean for a company to be an equity company?
It helps to support the professional actors in town. So there are quite a few equity houses in the Indianapolis area, which allows you to kind of stay closer to home if you are in the union. If you're in the union, you're not allowed to do work that is not union. There are a lot of great theater companies in Carmel and Indianapolis at large that are not equity companies. So equity actors are not allowed to work for those companies. So it's nice to be able to have a community that doesn't have to keep jobbing out.
Absolutely. And that's also, I'm very excited to see it happen because it means that there are more opportunities for actors and performers and artists and stage managers to make a career here in Indiana as opposed to, leaving and going to New York, LA, or Chicago.
And the other thing I meant to mention about what ATI does that is really exciting is the lab series that they produce in collaboration with Carmel Clay Public Library, which examines new works. So the goal is within a week, you rehearse with professional actors and work up a reading of a new work just to see what it sounds like and feels like on its feet in front of a live audience. It's free. It's for anyone to come see it. So the playwright and the composers, lyricists get to see how an audience reacts to it and kind of take that information forward in the process. So it's really an invaluable thing for writers to get to do, and they have access to professional actors,
which is wonderful, and it supports the development of new stories. Amazing. Julie Lyn Barber, what a wonderful conversation. So happy to have you here with us on Pop of Culture. Young Frankenstein, Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein, or Frankenstein, performs at the Studio Theater at Allied Solutions Center for the Performing Arts in Carmel. And it opens this Friday, the 24th, and runs through November 9th. Julie Lyn Barber, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everybody should check out Julie Lyn's performance as Frau Blücher.
It's Pop of Culture. I'm Michelle Kinsey.
And I'm Jen Blackmer. Every week, we ask a local artist, what are you working on? This week, our co-host Cara DuQuette made a house call to artist Aaron Nicholson.
Oh, wow. You've got a little jungle back here.
Aaron Leaf Nicholson is a multimedia sculptor, painter, and designer in Muncie. He welcomed us into his home studio, where his front and backyards are tall, thriving gardens. He walked us through the backyard and let us taste some of his produce.
Out for the pawpaw
I'm going to
beer.
give you guys tomatoes. You like tomatoes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not super organized, but when I get something
That's okay.
I like, I save the seeds and grow it again.
Oh my
Nice.
goodness.
Taste that.
So cute.
Tell me that's not the best tomato you ever had.
It's very good.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
For a tomato, it's pretty good.
So you have tomatoes, peppers, pawpaws.
I have about 200 different food species in this yard. Like I counted last year. I did a class and I had to count and organize it and came up with about 200 plants.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. So could you survive back here if there was...
If I'm doing all my maintenance and taking care of everything, I don't have to buy veggies at the store ever.
Mm-hmm. In between the tomatoes and the peppers and the pawpaws are some of his sculptures.
That's an iron casting.
Love it. What did you make it from? It looks like wood.
It was styrofoam, and then took a mold off of it. It's about 200 pounds-ish. It's hollow.
Looks like what I would imagine a dinosaur egg too.
That's what people call it. That's what my dad called it.
After we were done exploring the yard, he led us into his garage, which is actually his home studio. He lined it with artwork for our visit and set up a small recording area with freshly spray-painted chairs and a lovely pot of tea. I'm going to start by asking you our favorite question on Pop of Culture, and that is, what are you working on?
What am I working on? Usually a bunch of things all at once. But what I'm working on publicly is that I'm getting Gordy Framing, the downtown development people together, along with a company called Hoosier Pattern and a foundry called Greedy Foundry in Newcastle. And we're going to raise funds to build custom manhole covers to put all through the downtown of Muncie along the Arts Walk. And so my goal was to get artists. It's not just going to be me making them. Like, I want to make a few, and I've already made 2. But my goal was to get other artists paid to do designs so that all these other artists can have permanent pieces of work in the downtown in the form of a cast iron manhole cover. And so that's something that I've been working on that involves a lot of different people, and I've had a lot of meetings, and we're starting to get to a point where we're raising funds, and I think hopefully by next year we can at least make 10 to 20 of them, and it might be something we do in phases.
Now, where did you get that idea? I'm sorry to interrupt, but so at Fire Up downtown Muncie, you could make what looked to be a manhole cover design that was then cast. Yes. So is this a similar process? How will the artist create these manholes?
Well, I've been doing them digitally, so somebody could send me a digital file, and then I can make it 3-dimensional, and then we have the molds 3D printed. And then those 3D printed molds go to the foundry in Newcastle to be cast. It's a little too big to be doing out on the street at the Fire Up. It's a little too dangerous because it's like 150 pounds of metal. And I did do a 150-pound casting out there, and I was like, this is a little much for the space that we're in. So I think it's safer, and we'll get a better result if we do it at a foundry where they have everything kind of dialed in. Like when we do it on the street, it's a little kind of sloppy because it's all homemade tools. It's not like, it's kind of makeshift, I guess you could say.
I guess manholes have to be pretty precise
Yes, they do.
in their dimension. But can you describe one of the ones that you plan to make?
I have one that I made of a sunflower that's already finished. And then I made another smaller one for a water meter cover that's going outside the visitor center. It's already put in the ground. And it's of a couple aliens in a UFO. And it says visitors welcome on it.
Oh, I think that's a wonderful idea. Yeah, and it'll be such a collaborative process. And how do people get involved in putting forth an idea?
I think the first round we're going to select people. And then if that succeeds and that works, then we're going to start maybe putting calls out, things like that. Okay. We're trying to keep it small at first just to see if it gets enough traction that people want to see more.
I think that's wonderful. I think it really it changes the face of the city, and it ups the enjoyment of living in a certain place when you see art everywhere.
Yeah, if art's like crammed in every little nook and cranny of a place, people will come just to see it.
They will.
There's a bunch of examples of it. Towns that just do murals all over the towns. And then there's like a movement to draw more tourists to Muncie. And I think they're going to start using art as the starting point to get more tourists. I mean, there's a lot of music already. There's concerts, there's band shells all over town, but the visual arts, there should be more.
Aaron is also collaborating on plans to build a monument of the Devil's Tower from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The movie famously features characters and streets from Muncie, and it turns 50 in 2027. Surrounded by multimedia of all kinds, we wanted to know about his process. I'm just curious what your favorite process is for sculpture making, because I know you're multidisciplinary in many respects, but also in making sculpture. So what's
metal casting has been the thing I've gravitated to the most. And it's probably the most complicated and most expensive and hard fought thing that I do. But I have to take breaks from it because it's tough on you, but I enjoy it. Something about translating something else into metal, it kind of fascinates me. When you're pouring these things in metal, like it's an enormous amount of energy that it's in your hand, and you're putting it into this mold that, you could spend months on it. You could spend months on something, and it all boils down to like 1 second where you make a mistake and the whole thing is toast. So it's like always this whole amount of pressure building up to the moment where you pour it. And it's something about it. I don't know if it's an adrenaline rush or it's just something that it's in my blood. I just got to do it.
Well, and you said it's tough on you. What do you mean by that? Like physically taxing?
Yeah, heavy. You're moving heavy things around, and you're metal grinding, and you're having to wear safety equipment, and it's kind of like a fight. It's like a long, drawn-out fight. But then at the end result, you're hopefully making something interesting or beautiful or something that adds to the world in an interesting, positive way. That's kind of how I look at it. But I do like painting. I feel like I go to painting once I'm sick of doing all the hard stuff. Then I'll just kind of be quiet and paint for a month or whatever. Everything kind of happens in phases. It's like I pick one thing up and then I get sick of it and I'll pick something else up, and I just kind of keep moving from thing to thing to thing.
Yeah.
And right now there's not a whole lot going on, and I'm kind of at this starting point, and I'm hesitant to make a jump. I don't really know exactly what I want to do next, but what I think I want to do is, instead of making art that reflects the world around me, I want to make art that looks like how I want the world to look instead. But I haven't committed to it yet. I've only done some sketches of things, but I'm still kind of just hesitant. I'm holding back a little bit, giving myself a break.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take breaks.
You do have to take breaks, and I love the idea of creating art that will represent what you want the world to be.
Yeah. I mean, it could go into fantasy, and it could be cheesy, but I think if it's positive and it gives other people an idea that's positive, I think there's some value in that.
Most definitely, in any time, but certainly at this point in time. Yeah. I'm looking at this piece and it's just calling to me. It's right in front of me. And can you talk a little bit about it? It looks like you said, you go to painting for a break, or it's easier. This looks very complex to me. I see metal. I see.
Well, I did a whole body of work about outer space. And this is kind of like the culmination of that. But I also got into meditating, and then and I started thinking about inner space and then outer space. So I call that inner space and outer space on a two-dimensional plane. And so it's just like a combination of all these things that I think about. I think about energy and the universe and solar systems and all these. I think about all kinds of things that aren't really clear to me, but I'm a real abstract thinker. And when I start putting things down on paper, it kind of helps me sort it out.
Well, I see the energy waves. I see lots of colors and planets, and it's just fabulous.
There's little BBs in there, and there's collages, spray paint, there's ink, there's oil paint, and then there's resin. It's just a whole bunch of different stuff put together.
Very multimedia.
But I piled up the materials over years, and then I was like, all right, I got to get this done. And I just put it together.
It's time to express it.
Yeah, you gotta. Some things can just bother you forever, but artistic project wise, like you can just scratch your head over it. But at some point, you gotta move on to the next thing to evolve.
Mm-hmm. Well, I completely agree with that, and everyone's creative flow is different. But I did want to say that if you want to see some of Aaron's work, at least one piece, you can go to Rojo's Martini Bar, and you will see a lovely piece. And if you love Bob Ross and you love Star Wars, you're going to be delighted by this work.
And where else can we see your work, Aaron?
There's work at Gordy Fine Art and Framing till November 1st. I have a show that I did while I was in Greece last winter. And I have my website, which is my name, aaronleifnicholson.com. And I'm on Instagram at ironleif, Leif. And I have some things at sculpture parks and private residencies. And I really just want to get more stuff out and do public work where people can see it.
From a garage in Muncie, I'm Kara DuQuette.
We are gathering together for this week's arts calendar. Michelle, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All
Go,
right.
Jen.
A Simpler Time Antique Show is taking over Delaware County Fairgrounds October 25th. That's a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Lots of furniture, lots of accessories to peruse and enjoy.
Yes, absolutely. The Happy Little Fest is Saturday, October 25th from 1 to 4 p.m. at Minnetrista Museum and Gardens. Hosted by Ball State PBS and Minnetrista, it's a chance to celebrate all things Bob Ross.
All things
And
Bob
to me,
Ross.
that definitely equals joy.
Indeed.
Also opening this weekend is the Nestled Cabins at Bob Ross Experience. Step into the tranquil world of Bob Ross with this unique exhibition highlighting a collection of his beloved cabin paintings.
That sounds like a happy little day.
I love it. And that's all part of the fest. So you'll be able to
Amazing.
access that new exhibit as part of the fest.
Okay. Grammy-nominated British vocal ensemble Voces 8 will perform at Felipe Performing Arts Center at Indiana Wesleyan University in Marion on Sunday, October 26th. The music begins at 7:30 p.m. indwes.edu is where you'll get more information.
Masterworks Chorale, A Place Called Home, will take the stage at Southside Middle School Saturday, October 25th at 7:30 p.m. This is the first concert of the 4-concert season by the Masterworks Chorale in Muncie.
Lots of wonderful music.
Absolutely.
Trouble Man, a Marvin Gaye tribute, speaking of wonderful music,
Absolutely.
is Saturday, October 25th at 7:30 p.m. at Emmons Auditorium. Get ready for a night of soul, passion, and the timeless music of Marvin Gaye. From the smooth grooves of Let's Get It On to the soul-stirring messages of What's Going On, expect to sing, dance, and celebrate the life of this legendary artist. bsu.edu/Emmons for details.
Yes, and looking ahead, Mrs. Doubtfire will take the stage there at Emmons Auditorium on October 30th. Hello! If you have a delightful musical or other event pop listeners need to know about, tell us at indianapublicradio.org/contact, then click Pop of Culture.
Support for Pop of Culture comes from Stallings Wealth Management, the Innovation Connector, and from you. With state and federal money eliminated, you are the difference in keeping local programming on the air at IPR. Become a member today at indianapublicradio.org.
And that's our show. Our digital content god is August Wilde.
This week was produced by Luke Jones, who definitely forgot to put the candle back.
With production assistance from Andrew Montavon, our audio fellow is Maya Doss. Our show was hosted by me, Michelle Kinsey.
And me, Jen Blackmer. Pop of Culture is a production of IPR on the campus of Ball State University.
What the desire is. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
My buddy there. Buddy.
Hey, buddy. I'm sorry.
It's the neighbor's cat, I think.
I love kittens. Hi, Tweety.
I think he's been after the chipmunks in the yard. Do me a favor.
No.